Hello and welcome to our first episode of Isolation Reflections. This is a show where my dad and I will share our thoughts on various topics. So, obviously I'm James Robb and I just want to introduce my father, Mark Robb.
Good afternoon. Yeah, James and I thought it would be interesting to share during this time of isolation some of the things that interest us, which we hope will interest other people. That is potentially not the case. Some of the topics that we thought about covering were top tens. We love top tens in all sorts of different areas.
Mm-hmm.
What would the ideal day be? Structure of it, post-corona. Desert Island Discs, our own version of Desert Island Discs. And also, we have asked others to send in suggestions, and we have quite a range so far.
Yeah, we have some really good suggestions in at the moment, so it's going to be exciting to see where they go. So, today's episode is going to be our dream dinner party.
Strong start.
It is, and I will set out the parameters for today. So, you're allowed 4 guests, you have to pick a full meal for them, you're allowed 1 album that you have to listen to throughout the whole meal, and it has to be in a specific location. So, the way this is going to work is we're going to go alternate. So, Dad's going to serve, and I'll return. So,
If you're lucky.
without further ado, Dad, would you like to kick us off? Your serve.
I think it's important also to say, first of all, we did discuss whether this would be dead or alive participants at
Very
the dinner
good,
party.
yes.
And we plumped in the end for only alive, because I thought that dead maybe widens the net too
Well,
far.
you would have just picked biblical characters, wouldn't you? So it would have been quite a boring episode.
Oh yes, well the main biblical character is still alive, so we could still go there, but we've decided not to do
Very
that.
good.
But, so also I think the opportunity for being pretentious is quite real with dead characters. So,
especially on your
Mozart,
part
Goethe,
there.
Wagner.
Well, I'm not going to make a comment on that. Let's just kick off. So, your first pick.
Pick number 1, Roger Federer.
Very strong. I like that. Would you like to explain why?
Yeah, he is, well, I mean, I love tennis. We both love tennis, playing and watching. And Federer is, in my opinion, the best player, male or female, in history.
I'd agree with you there.
Thank you. And not just because of the slams and titles, but just the completeness of the record as well. But but I think he's also classy, he's interesting, he's adroit, cultured. So yeah, I think he'd be fantastic company.
Very good. And if you could ask Roger one question, so I know how much you'd want Roger to be there. You get one question at him. What is it going to be?
I sort of immediately go to the boring ones of what does it feel like to step on centre court, but I guess that's all been asked 100 times, isn't it? So I would actually, boringly, want to know a bit about the structure of his day. So, when does he wake up? What does he eat?
It's really dull. Really dull. Okay.
How does he train? How many hours? I'm kind of fascinated by all that detail. So I'd really want, the detailed breakdown of how he orders his training. That's the stuff that I'd be interested in.
Yeah, that's not what I'd be asking. I'd be asking, what is Rafa Nadal really like behind closed doors? Is he actually a bit of a dick?
No, I don't know if... I think Roger's too sort of, polite.
Hey.
And I'm sure Rafa's a fantastic guy.
Nick Kyrgios doesn't seem to think so. Would you like to add anything else on about Roger Federer for the moment?
No, well, I don't want to get too man-crushy. But,
No, well, he is your ultimate man crush, so it's understandable why.
No, I think he'd be great. Interesting, and
he's a man of class, isn't he?
He
so
is. He's a
he'd
classy
be
guy.
good fun. He'd be
he's a
good
classy
fun.
guy. Snappy dresser too.
Yes.
So, you have to return the favour, I guess. Your first guest would be...
My first guest would be Justin Rose.
A sportsman
A sportsman as well, and actually probably
more boring
even more
one.
boring in golf, yes. Now, there's a lot of different reasons why I'd go for Justin Rose. I think out of all sportsmen I've seen, I'd probably say he's the most sporting. I think he's the most gracious loser I've ever seen.
So he's an expert in losing? Is that
He's
your
not,
point,
no,
or-
because let me tell you why. Gold medalist in Rio, US Open champion. Last year he won the FedEx Cup, so he won a tournament that had the bonus prize of $10 million, and he beat Tiger Woods in that. on the final hole had to hole out for a par. So he knows how to win, but he's lived a really interesting life as well. So when he was 17, he burst onto the scene at Royal Birkdale, and he finished 4th in the competition.
I think I remember that. Was he still an amateur?
He was still an amateur at the time. And then he had a few years where he went out and he wasn't very good. And he's come back now, and he's probably been, in the last 15 years, along with Phil Mickelson, the most consistent performer on the PGA Tour.
But see, no offence, I don't think of him as a great, because I don't think he's, I think that in terms of number of majors and dominance over a period, and I know what you're saying about his consistency, but that doesn't make for a... Why would you want him there? Why him rather than a more more colourful figure in golf?
It's hard. There are certain players that you love, and I love the way he plays his golf. I think he's a really nice guy. There's loads of reasons why I'd have him. I don't want to be like you with a fanboy in Federer. I don't want to go on for ages about it, but I just think that he is the ultimate professional in golf, and I'd find it really interesting to talk to him about that.
See, interesting, because when I think of you and sports, I think of your natural attraction to more flamboyant characters. But okay, all right, fair enough.
Yeah.
So Justin Rose, and just for repetition, your key question for him?
I would be, again, I took the mick out of you for going for boring, but I would ask him about golf, and it would
as
be
opposed to economics.
No, but it would be very boring in the fact that I'd say, in a match play situation when he's walking down on the final day at Augusta, what was going through his mind when he was against Sergio? How does he keep out all of the thoughts and feelings that are going to, try and get in his head?
I think that is interesting, actually, how they managed to block everything else out to stay focused. Okay, all right, good. So, shall I go for my second guest?
Yep, straight in, second guest.
It's difficult. I'm going to go something completely different. So I'm going to go for Dr. Jordan Peterson as my second guest. So he is a clinical psychologist, shot to fame recently after the sort of brouhaha in Canada around Bill C-16, which compelled gender-neutral pronouns into speech by law. And Peterson didn't have any issue with calling people whatever they want to be called, but he did have an issue with it being compelled into law, and he saw it as an attack on free speech. And he's sort of been propelled both into the public awareness, but also into podcasting and book writing. And he'd actually written a book earlier, Maps of Meaning, a sort of his sort of masterwork, I suppose.
Well, he's a psychologist, isn't he, by trade?
He's a clinical psychologist, and was a professor in a university in Toronto, and also worked with private clients as a clinical psychologist. Really, nobody had ever heard of him. He was actually an early adopter of YouTube technology. He put quite a lot of his lectures online.
Yeah, well, I knew about Jordan Peterson, didn't I, about 2 years before you, because one of my old co-workers used to listen to him consistently.
Oh, really?
And I've known about him for a couple of years now, but I've never actually listened to a lot of his stuff, whereas you are a big fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think he is about as clear thinking a person as it's possible to find in his area, and he's obviously got very well-formed thoughts in his area. He's a massive student of Jung. I guess Jung's his hero. And he's super insightful guy, super insightful, and also very honest, straightforward, direct. And he's had his own struggles with mental health, and so he's a kind of complex figure.
Yeah.
But I've listened to a lot of his lectures, because he's on a world sort of lecture tour at the moment, filling not stadiums, but filling conference halls and so forth. And I think he'd be stimulating. And abrasive, probably too. Yeah.
I'm sure.
What about number two for you?
I'm sure him and Federer will get on the house on fire.
Yeah. Well, you wait till you see the rest of the guests. It's going to be an interesting mix.
Yeah.
Actually, I've not really thought about the chemistry very much. But anyway.
No. Well, okay. Wait for me to throw out the chemistry here. My second guest is Donald Trump.
Controversial.
It is a controversial one.
Okay. Lose all your listeners before you start.
Now, it's politics aside, mainly, I think that Donald Trump is a stand-up comedian in his own right. I mean, I think I've watched a lot of his interviews,
Mm.
and I think he's funnier than most stand-up comics out there.
China.
Exactly. Now, again, being a massive golf fan, he owns some of the most beautiful golf courses in the world. So it would be a great topic of conversation.
Him and
just
Justin Rose might know each other.
I think they would know each other. Because remember, Rory McIlroy a few years ago got in a lot of flack from the media for going out and playing a round with Donald Trump at his own golf course. Very strange. But no, obviously, being a massive politics fan that I am as well, I would obviously talk to him about what is it like.
I don't actually think he's a politician. Just
No,
so you know.
no, and I think if I actually, if you compare it to an Obama, I imagine if I asked Obama about the White House and about politics, he'd actually have a much more interesting story to tell.
That's quite likely.
I imagine Trump, would be talking in platitudes and wouldn't actually have a lot of detail behind it.
Although he is a super high achieving person, because to become a billionaire, okay, backed by some family money originally, but to lose it all, become a billionaire again, become the most successful star on TV, and actually win the presidency, these are not easy things to do.
He's become an expert in multiple fields, which is interesting to talk about.
Modern day polymath. Not many people will describe him that way.
No,
There you go.
no. Look, obviously he is a very controversial figure, and I probably brought him along for the dinner for that as well, because he'd create some fun. Now again, it's political views aside about him, I just think he's a fascinating character, and I'd love to try and. I think he probably doesn't even understand half the stuff that goes on in his head. So if I tried to probe him and try to get some interest in conversation out of him, I don't think I really would. But second invite for me is going to the Donald.
Well, make dinner parties great again.
Absolutely.
Go on then, you go number 3. Keep momentum, and I'll come back to my 3 in a second.
Keep momentum. Okay, so the third one for me is Jurgen Klopp.
That's a good pick.
I think he is the most motivational manager in the Premier League, and
Maybe in the world.
I would love, if I was a professional footballer, to work for him. And what I've seen, every person that has worked for him just says he's a fantastic manager. I think he's funny. I think he's got a footballing brain that is different to a lot of managers in the way he goes about it. There's a lot about Jurgen Klopp that I really like.
Lot to like.
There is a lot to like.
Him and Trump get on like a house on fire.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. But he's also, he was a professional footballer, albeit a pretty poor one. And now,
That's a number of managers, right?
Yeah, that is a number of managers.
I don't mean having been footballers, that's all of them, but some of them not being fantastic as players but impressive as managers.
There's obviously exceptions to the rule. Pep Guardiola was a standout, very good player in his own right.
Yeah, he's not a very good manager.
Well, I know that you're not a massive fan of his, that he is a spoilt brat, but
I think that's unfair. I think the phrase I used was petulant child.
Petulant child, sorry. I just think that Jurgen Klopp would be so insightful. I think he'd be funny. I just think he'd be a delight to have at your dinner party.
Yeah, no,
so
great.
There's not one thing about having Jurgen Klopp there that I would worry about, whereas with the Donald, there would be a few things that I'd worry about having him there. But yeah, my third choice would be Jurgen Klopp.
Okay. My number 3 then. Now, it's got harder as it's moved on, actually. And I've been a bit torn on the final 2 because there's a couple to go for.
There is.
But
and we will put the honourable mentions out in a minute as well.
Yes, well, I mean, we don't want to offend anyone, do we? Because,
they're all listening. So.
Yeah. But I think I'm going to go for Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
Now, actually, similarly to Trump, he has had success in multiple... So, he was the best sportsman in his chosen field of bodybuilding, and a 7-time Mr. Olympia, which is kind of like the world championships.
Even if he was roided up.
Well, they all are. It's not even banned in professional bodybuilding, actually. I don't know if you know that. So they're allowed to take steroids. It's one of the sports they're honest about it, so they're all. But actually, he'd be nothing like as roided up as the guys are now. I don't know if you've seen any of the current guys, but they are absolute monsters. Growth hormone, insulin, everything. But Schwarzenegger, obviously, so he was a world champion at his chosen sport. He actually was a property millionaire before he was an actor. He was financially independent before he was an actor. He was the biggest box office actor of his generation.
Get to the chopper!
You probably not even actually seen all of his great 80s triumphs.
No, I probably haven't.
Yeah, I watched them all when I was a kid.
I watched Terminator, and I don't think it aged amazingly.
No, Terminator probably, although it is still kind of, you could put it in cult classic mode, definitely. But no, but Schwarzenegger, he also, became governor of California. He is a philanthropist. He's an activist.
If he wasn't Austrian, I think he would have become the president.
100%. Yeah, he would have. I think that's absolutely certain. I mean, he was a runaway, triumph as governor of California.
Because he was on the Republican ticket as well.
Yeah, he's a Republican, but he's socially liberal, financially conservative. He was married to Maria Shriver, who's part of the Kennedy family. Yeah, and famously they've separated after his extramarital dalliances with his housekeeper.
Yes.
But yeah, so he was part of the Kennedy family, who were obviously Democrat, famously, but he's a fairly centrist Republican. He would have definitely been the president, I think. Yeah, if he hadn't been Austrian. But yeah, he's also been involved in Special Olympics most of his life. He's a really interesting guy and quite funny too, actually. I watched him online on YouTube recently making a protein shake with schnapps. But
yeah, well, I saw him with James Corden in one of his
oh really?
Eat or Tell the Stories.
Oh, okay.
He was very amusing in that.
Was he?
Yeah,
he's a funny guy. He's a cool guy. I mean, I think Stallone is another potential pick. Maybe even in a way might even be more fun than Schwarzenegger. But I guess I was kind of an Arnie fan when I was a teenager.
But Arnie is a vegan now.
Yeah, well, I mean, nobody's perfect.
True. Right. Do you want to finish up, or do you want me to have my last pick?
You have your last pick, and then I'll circle back round to mine.
So this was my most difficult decision. Should I go through my honourable mentions first before I go to the last? So, Delia Smith. What a woman.
Let's be having you.
Yeah, let's be having you. Justin Langer, because he's now the head coach of Australia, and I watched the test recently, and he was so impressive. I would love to pick his brain.
I think he'd be better than Justin Rose. Just have a switch of Justins.
Maybe. Toff from Made in Chelsea. She's my celebrity crush, but I don't think that's why I would invite her. Jacob Rees-Mogg, we all know my love for him.
Has he not made it into the party?
He hasn't made it in.
Okay,
Theresa May.
Just to keep the energy high.
She would be so boring, but I would just love to know what she thought about her time in office, because it was probably such a difficult period, and it weighed so heavily on her. You could see what it did to her. I'd have loved to have picked brains. And probably a rare one that you probably wouldn't imagine I'd put in there, but Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
No, I could imagine.
Who is the US Supreme Court Justice.
Yeah.
She is a singularly impressive woman. She had multiple types of cancer and still been on the bench. She operates on a different level.
Yeah, didn't she have a period where she didn't miss a day's work for 40 odd years? And I think actually only missed a couple of days during her cancers or something.
Yeah, she is just a singularly impressive woman.
The Supreme Court justices are interesting in themselves, aren't they? Appointed for life. Once you're on the bench,
you're set, aren't you?
Well, I don't mean it like that, but I mean it's
they
one of
can
those
be
jobs.
Impeached though. Still,
can they?
Yeah, Supreme Court justices can be impeached. Right. Anyway, to my final pick. So my final pick is my childhood hero.
Thank you very much. I'll enjoy the party.
No, not in the slightest. Obviously, growing up, cricket was everything for me, and the epitome of that was the 2005 Ashes. And the hero from that was Andrew Flintoff.
Yeah.
And that's why he's my pick. He was my hero growing up. It used to always be him or KP, and we were talking about this the other day, that I remember in 2006, England v Pakistan, and we'd gone to Yorkshire, hadn't we? So Headingley.
I think Headingley. Leeds.
Yeah, so we'd gone to go watch it, and at the end of the game, I wanted Kevin Peterson's signature as well. And KP walked past everyone and didn't even acknowledge that there were screaming kids there wanting his autograph. And because of that, I wrote him off, didn't I? I never was a fan of his again.
Yeah, he was too cool for school. I can remember it well, walking past just looking at his phone. Whereas Andrew Strauss, by comparison, who you weren't a massive fan of, was the captain, stayed until every child had an autograph.
And I think that's why, Andrew Strauss is now knighted. Because he actually, the way he carries himself is that of a man of dignity. But anyway, back to Freddie. So,
can I just say as well, I'm surprised this was a struggle pick for you, because this would have been what I would have thought would be your absolute first place at the table. He's fun, he's capable as well, he's interesting, he's honest, he's real, he was your sort of boyhood hero.
He was.
Why was it? Because why did he struggle to make the cut, or at least consider being replaced by Ruth Ginsburg?
In the last few years, obviously I've been playing less and less cricket, and I've been much more interested in my golf. So straight away, Justin Rose was my pick. So that's really why. But I came back to it and I thought, what if I had have asked 7, 8-year-old James who he would have wanted there? It would have been Freddie. So I've just got to do 7, 8-year-old me some justice there. And look, again, England cricketing hero, my hero as a kid, a funny guy, and great teller of stories.
Yeah,
he's in.
Yeah,
okay.
I think he'd be great fun.
Your last pick.
So it's a toss-up between, and actually, I decided, and now that we're talking about it, I was still a bit on the fence, but the final two is a toss-up between Tom Cruise and
acting legend,
and all-round cool guy, and Dr. Wayne Grudem, systematic theologian, my favourite.
Your favourite preacher man?
Well, it's not even that he's a preacher per se as a Bible teacher, but not to be too picky about it, but certainly his systematic theology is my go-to when I'm sort of preparing to teach. I think it'd have to be Grudem. I'd love to have Tom there, but I think I'll
Scientologist now though as well, isn't it?
Well, it's like when you say that Arnie being a vegan, we made a joke about that. It's just a surprise, that one, because he has been such a red meated eating bodybuilder all his life, and he switched to veganism. But he's a massive environmentalist as well, Schwarzenegger. So, and
this isn't Arnie's pick. Back to Grudem.
No. But I'm just saying to this point about so back to Grudem. Yeah, I think as well, actually, him and Peterson would have a really interesting conversation.
They would.
Yeah, they would. Because Jordan Peterson. Yeah, so I think that would be a good dynamic, actually. So I think I'll go with Grudem, and just Tom will have to come to another party. We better move on, haven't we, to
the meal.
That's
the meal.
This is easier for me.
This was for both of us very quick and easy.
Yeah.
So we'll go for the back to back again. So my starter would be chicken satays with lovely peanut sauce, and then a aromatic duck with pancakes.
Oh, you're having a double starter actually. There.
Well, no.
I don't know if that's actually allowed.
Well,
I think we have to pick one.
If you put
aromatic duck and because my main meals would be these 6.
Okay, well then if you're putting a gun to my head, it's the chicken satays.
Okay,
they're my favourite.
Okay, so with peanut sauce.
Well, it's not a chicken satay unless it's got peanut sauce.
Fair enough. So I'm going to go for... I was actually going to be a bit pretentious, but I've decided actually to...
Surprise.
So I'm actually going to go instead for something a little earthier, but really what I would like is my starter, which is homemade lentil soup.
Oh, so not the 2 goat's cheese soufflés that Mum would have?
Yeah, no. That is good from Seaborn. But when I got to... So I can remember it as a boy, but also when I go back up to Edinburgh now, or up to actually to Fife now, and my sister Sally's always got the soup on the stove.
Auntie Salvi always has it on there for you.
I do love it, yeah. So I'd go for that. I'll go into Maine.
Yep.
So and I'm not sure these all combine very well together as well.
Doesn't matter, it's your choice.
Fusion is the is the thing here. But the main meal is going to be lobster thermidor with a filet mignon.
So surf and turf.
Yeah, got it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Peppercorn sauce?
No, I don't think so. Not if I've got the lobster.
Okay.
So maybe just a little bit of garlic butter. Fries as well.
Well, obviously.
Yum yum.
I'm with you on that. My main would be steak and chips. It was a toss-up between that and...
Could you get a lobster too, and then I could have yours?
No. Well, you're not invited.
Oh yeah, good point.
It was a toss-up between
So
that
disappointing.
and Mum's Mazzetta.
Well, that's also
We Mum's Mazzetta is legendary. So
it is good.
But unfortunately, it's not made the cut. So it would be steak and chips for me, but not like a 8 ounce, a 16 ounce. Basically, I would want like at least half a
like
cow.
sort of make a complete mess of yourself while your guests are looking at you, and you're sort of
I wouldn't care.
Mind you, I reckon the Donald's a messy eater.
Yeah, well, he would probably just say, "Can I have a McDonald's instead, please?"
Yeah, and McDonald's for the Donald. Dessert. I'm gonna have sticky toffee pudding with custard. And there's one at the Mulberry Tree, a restaurant near here that we go to. That would be a pretty good pick.
Mm-hmm.
Or also Simon Jones one that he does at New Year is
that is a very good sticky toffee pudding.
I think that's actually
very
Gary
true.
Rhodes' recipe originally, but yeah. So sticky toffee pudding, custard, bang.
And when we say custard, I mean it's going to be more custard than sticky toffee pudding. The man for every 100 grams of food there is a litre of custard.
Yeah.
My dessert
go on.
would be chocolate ice cream, which I get in every restaurant I go into, and Belgian waffles. So I love Belgian waffles. Well, I don't need to be a man of taste and culture. I just need to be a man that enjoys what he eats. But the chocolate ice cream has to be proper chocolate ice cream.
As opposed to pretend.
Well, no, but you know where you get, in some restaurants you get it and it's absolutely rubbish. I want the ones like the little chocolate flakes in them, proper chocolate, like a Hyundai's level of chocolate ice cream.
Chocolate in the chocolate ice cream.
Yeah, like triple chocolate ice cream, basically.
Sounds good. That would be probably one of my number 2 or 3 backup choices for a dessert. I do love chocolate ice cream.
Right.
Drinks.
So, drinks, well, J2Os for me. The J2O Orange and Passion Fruit is the best drink out there, and everyone knows that I believe that the J2O Orange and Passion Fruit is the best drink out there, and that's the only drink that's on the menu.
That might help us with our future sponsorship deals. He said, shooting high for the podcast. I'm going to probably just go for an ice cold beer to start, and then nice glass of red wine with the surf and turf. Yeah, I think so. Either that or.
I mean, the amount of prosecco you and mother drink.
I was going to say either that or prosecco just all the way through. And actually, I think now I probably prefer prosecco to champagne.
Wow.
So.
Becoming less and less pretentious by the day.
And isn't that good for these austerity times that I can move to prosecco?
Absolutely. Tell that to the 4 bottles of Magnum Prosecco you've got in the cupboard. Anyway, album. What do you want?
So the mood music for the meal is going to be Moon Safari by Air.
Oh, that's so annoying. That would have been my pick.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
It's amazing.
That is a go-to for me. I do love that.
I think that I'd have it as mine is because for 20 years, every time we sit down for dinner, Moon Safari by Air's on.
I think that's overstating it.
It is basically though, so much so that we now have the vinyl of it as well.
I do like it if I get on planes and things as well. I find it just relaxing listening to that.
I always listen to Moon Safari by Air on the beach if I'm sunbathing. Great sunbathing songs.
If I've picked it, you've got.
I can't have it.
Different. What do you want to go for?
So, few options for me. Obviously, love Hall and Oates. Love AC/DC as well.
nice balance there.
But actually, I'd go for David Gray, the White Ladder album. I remember David Gray was the first artist that I really loved listening to, and the White Ladder album is his best album, so that would be my choice. And then finally, just as we wrap up, location. Where do you want to have it?
I think we just maybe ask Roger if we can have it at his house. He's probably got a pretty nice gaff.
Yeah, I imagine he does.
I would like to actually have it somewhere warm, I guess, and maybe rooftop, nice view over the sea. So not somewhere too warm though.
Okay.
So sort of Mediterranean perhaps, somewhere in the Mediterranean. Nice location, nice hotel, rooftop garden, overlooking the sea. That would work well for me.
Okay, and for me it would be in Villa Borghese in Rome. It's my favourite.
Get you.
It's my favourite roof in Rome, and that's
of the many roofs you know in Rome.
Well, I remember when I was solo travelling there, and I absolutely loved the Villa Borghese roof, and it just is such a beautiful room that I think if you had a nice long table there, Mr. Carson from Downton Abbey serving, by the way, as well for me.
Well, I mean, you could guarantee as well that the Donald wouldn't sort of damage any historic artefacts or anything like that. So you're all safe there.
Absolutely. So I think that's wrapped us up for our first episode.
Sounds good. It'd be a good dinner party. I think the thing about these parties is as well is that the mix of the people's interesting, and I'm not sure whether that works for either of ours.
My group's not getting on at all. I think they're not getting on at all. Quite interesting. You've gone for people from a lot of different spectrums, and I've basically just gone for sportsmen and Donald Trump. Anyway,
and on that note,
tomorrow's episode is going to be
tomorrow. These daily episodes.
Yes.
I was thinking maybe like weekly.
No. We're in isolation, man. We've got nothing else to do.
Wow.
Tomorrow's episode is going to be Desert Island Discs.
Okay.
So 8 songs, luxury item. We get the Bible and Shakespeare, and then we get one choice of a book. And we will be able to, dive deeper into the emotional side about why we pick music, which I'm sure you will be excellent at, Dad.
Oh, I'll be all over the emotions. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, it's been fun.
It has been fun. And that is the end of our first episode. So thank you ever so much, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye for now.